Here's this week's MyBoat feature.
New teak, faux teak synthetic flooring. It's very durable, easy to maintain, and it looks great. And I can hear you yelling at home right now, that does not look great, that doesn't fit the swim platform. But don't worry, we're not installing new teak on our platform or even in the cockpit. Did you know new teak also makes interior flooring? Well, that's what this week's MyBoat project is, seafloor interior flooring. All in all, there's less than 90 square feet of flooring to remove from the master cabin to midship before we move to the install. Now, tearing up all the carpet and sanding everything down so it's nice and smooth for the seafloor will take some time. It's going to take a little bit of skill, though, is the hatches, and that's because they were designed to have the carpet wrap around, so when they're sitting, they're flush to the floor. But when we remove this little bit of carpet, we're going to have to make up that space on the bottom and on the side so it sits flush with the floor and there's no major gaps around it. So we're going to start with these first. You'll find different tricks that work for you. For these, I found this can opener style approach, rip the staples up and the carpet from the glue. Also, the Bosch multi-tool with a bunch of different blades made a world of difference, but it's still a long and tiring process. And then there's all the staples. In concept, it's exceptionally straightforward. Just rip up the carpet and sand it down flat. In practice, though, you may have a ton of staples or a ton of glue, or just have awkward sections you're trying to tackle. Watch out for things like hidden snaps as you go. Part of the flooring came up easily. Other parts were absolute disasters. I'm convinced that whoever installed this faux wood section in the galley was paid by the bucket of glue. Heat guns, chisels, channeling some inner anger, and recruiting a few friends helps move this along eventually. Once it's all out, it's time to clean up the surfaces, and a belt sander was a great way to do that. The final step before moving on to the install is the hatches we talked about earlier, and you have two basic options here. Cut brand new ones out of marine plywood to fit the section, or you can make shims under and around them to make sure they fit snugly but not too tight, which is what we've opted for, securing it all with a combination of wood glue and finishing nails. You don't have to have absolute perfection, but the more flaws you leave, the greater the chances the seafloor won't cover it up. Speaking of which, here it is. You have the choice of either the teak color, the brown one on the right, or the cherry, the reddish one to the left, which is what we're going to use. Do you glue this down? Is this a DIY, or is it better if you guys install it?
It can be either one if you've got a bit of talent. You know, say for instance, if you've just even a small amount of talent, like for instance a TV host.
The smallest amount possible.
Yes, then you should maybe call us. But this material itself, because it's all 36-inch strips, identical to laying a hardwood floor in a home, except there is no tongue and groove. So if you ever damage something, one strip can be removed and then replaced with another strip.
It's a PVC laminate coated with polyurethane, so it's light, it's flexible, and it's zero maintenance. Start with a center line that looks good, keeping in mind hatches aren't always perfectly in line, and start piecing your puzzle together. Use tape to hold the cut pieces in place so a little trip won't ruin a morning's work. Once you've done the total dry fit, it's glue time. Do a few strips at a time so you don't have to rush, and push them together firmly and mark where your hatches are with a pencil. You'll need to cut those out later. It's a simple enough process that is officially foolproof, though my touch wasn't quite as skilled as the experts who work much faster. But just keep plugging away and you can finish in a day or two depending on size, but then let it all sit. Any areas where glue squeezed through can be rubbed off with a rag and some denatured alcohol or acetone. The next day after the glue has started to set, but before it's completely solid, cut out the hatches with a box cutter and sand down the edges to tidy it all up. The final steps are drilling new holes to put your latches on, and if you have a step like this boat, a piece of trim. And there you go. It takes a few days, but it looks amazing when it's done. Something you can definitely DIY if you don't want to pay for the installers. Either way, the bang for your buck of this MyBoat is definitely worth it.